Alright, so today I actually wanted to start off something completely different that I haven't done yet before. I wanted to do a full tier list, so let's do the tanks. We're going to be doing this for Mythic Plus, by the way. It's a Mythic Plus tier list. We're going to try and guess the meta. We're going to tell you who's good, who's mid, who's meh. And then if you're just doggy, you need a rework, you need some good loving, you need some help. You really, really need some help. So with this Mythic Plus tier list, I want to start it off with just the tanks. So when it comes to the tanks, let's start off with Prop Paladin, since it is right here. Honestly, I think Prop Paladin's pretty good. What's really good about them is that they actually do a lot of damage. The one downside is that they actually are dying a little bit too often. So what I wrote down for them is that, like I said, they do a ton of damage, but they're a little bit too squishy. They actually are feeling a little bit better, like they're a little bit of a faster play style. But the issue is why they can't be meta is because they will easily die. But if they get any sort of buff to their survivability, I could see them becoming the meta spec. That's going to be my take here on this prop paladin. Next, I have a little bit more to talk about. Is going to be this prot warrior. So it's kind of in that same like thing. Let's put it with the prop paladin. I don't know which I'm gonna be doing them in order, which I think is better, which I think is worse. Right now, I'm kind of stuck. I think prop paladin's better. And my biggest thing on that is that there's absolutely nothing that prop paladins can do when it comes to bleeds and when it comes to magic damage. They took away your spell shield, so you can't really do anything when it comes to any sort of magic damage, and even then that was like on like a 30-second cooldown, minute cooldown. I can't remember what it was exactly last season, but that's just like something really bad about them. But when it comes to anything else, any sort of physical damage, they just are really good with their ignore pain. They're not gonna die. They need very minimal healing. They do need healing, but it's not that big of an issue. They aren't gonna get one tapped by anything crazy like that, and they do some pretty decent damage. So I would say that they're good. And then next we have Brewmaster Monk. So Brewmaster Monk I think is actually better than both of them. I actually would put it up in meta, but the issue is I'll talk about that later. Actually, since Vengeance and Bear, yeah, these two are coming up. I'll talk about it. So with Brewmaster, it's really good damage, like really good damage. It's really good into like a heavy physical comp as well. And why you would want this is because of the buff that all monks have. When they hit something, they take more physical damage. But right now, I don't quite think that it's actually going to be a physical meta. I think it's going to be a caster meta, which I feel like is very common in Mythic Plus. It's okay though, because they're still really good. Like, they're gonna be good. They have good utility. They have their Ring of Peace if you need to push anything away and kite out a little bit, which I actually don't really recommend kiting on tanks, but sometimes it's a necessity, especially when it comes to Brew, comes to Vengeance. You're gonna kite a little bit more sometimes, and they're good at that. They have an AoE stun, and I personally love how Brewmaster plays, having the mitigation and stuff like that, using your different brews. This is one of my favorite specs right here when it comes to tanking. But here's the big boy right here, right here. Vengeance, doggy. No, I'm playing. I'm playing. It's meta, 100%. Because I think it's going to be a caster meta, and with their passive, how Brewmaster increases the physical damage that's done to the mobs that they hit, Vengeance increases the magical damage that's done to them. And I think that it's going to be a magical comp. And they do good damage. They have the best CC of all the tanks, in my opinion, having their Sigil chains. They have Sigil of Silence. If they really need to get away, they could jump and use a Sigil of Fear. So they have a whole bunch of different answers. They have really good self-sustain as well. And that is the biggest thing. That they have probably the best self-sustain, in my opinion, because they have really good self-healing. They have their demon spikes, which actually is a really good defensive short cooldown. So I actually think that with their utility for the group, because they also have a conal AoE stun and a single target stun. They just have a lot to offer for a 5-man group. And oh, something else I forgot to bring up is that prop warriors actually increase physical damage as well. So these two are kind of competing for a physical comp, brewmaster and prop warrior. So next is gonna be bear. How I'm feeling about bear is that, like, it's kind of mid. It's not really super tanky, but it's not squishy. It doesn't do too much damage, but it doesn't do too little damage. It's just meh. It's mid. It's kind of blah, the spec in general. There's nothing too crazy about it. You do good AoE damage just with your thrash, I believe it's called. It's your AoE, like you just swipe around. It puts a bleed on them as well, so they take even more damage from it. So it's just like all around, like, you're not gonna have any aggro issues with this one right here especially, but it's like not exceptional. And the only thing it really brings, in my opinion, that's like good would be the verse buff that all druids get. So like if you're one of the 4 druid specs and you're kind of mid while there's 4 other tanks ahead of you, in my opinion, then it's probably not the best. You're probably not going to see it. Now BDK. See, I have a super big issue with BDK. It's either really good or really bad, and it's fucking doggy right now. It is just terrible. It is doggy. It needs work. My favorite tank is a BDK. I've been playing BDK since Warlords of Draenor. Literally my favorite tank in the game. My second favorite would be Brewmaster. But it's like, what are we doing here? Like, why are they... They're extremely oppressive and they have to be meta, or they're kind of meh, doggy. And the issue is that when it comes to BDK, they're going to be the first tank out of all 6 of them who get one shot first. Like, the higher keys you go, the more damage the mobs do. BDK will be the first one to get one shot. And you cannot have that happen as a tank, because they're all about healing back. And if you can't just heal back a one shot, like, what are you going to do? They don't really have too good of mitigation. The best thing you can do walking into a pack is popping your dancing rune weapon with tombstone and just get a shield and hope you don't get one shot. The higher keys you go, the worse it'll be. But I always think that BDK is pretty mid, or even good when it comes to mid to lower keys. But once you start like trying to actually push keys, it's doggy. You don't want to play it. Like, it's not going to be good this season, I guarantee it. It's going to be one of the worst tanks, if not the worst tank. The only redeeming quality is AMZ and grip. But honestly, you don't really need it from them. And one thing I wanted to go into that I forgot about, but I could do it now, it's not that big of a deal, is that when it comes to picking out these specs, who's going to be meta, who's not going to be meta, it's all about tankiness. That's the number one thing, is how tanky are they? Will they live? Can they live? If the answer is yes, cool. They can live. They can live. They can live. They can live. Okay, well, what splits them apart next? What splits them apart next is going to be their utility or buffs. Well, since I think it's going to be a caster meta, both of these get dropped down instantly. I think they have a little bit more utility with their AoE stun, AoE knockback, and stuff like that. And in Bear, all they have is a verse buff. I mean, they could take Typhoon and Ursol's Gift, but it's not that great of utility. And then the damage. The damage is the next thing, and Demon Hunter, all like the tank, always Vengeance, always pumps damage. That's all it is. Okay, so for the next part, let's talk about the healers. So when it comes to healers, let's look at Holy. So Holy, it's in the same like category as BDK, Blood Death Knight. So it's good in lower keys, mid keys, but higher keys, it can't do as much as others. It does. The only thing it provides for the group is stand buff and Mind Soothe. Mind Soothe's pretty good. If you want to like skip packs, stuff like that. But honestly, I think they're just kind of meh. I don't think they really need a rework. I think they're the stereotypical healer. If you just want to like sit there, heal, Maybe a little bit step up because they do have like procs and like a couple extra buttons, but they're kind of just generic mid, and they're not the best spec in that class for healing. They're not the best spec in the class. They're the worst spec in the class, in my opinion. So they're just kind of meh. But I don't think they're bad enough that they need a rework. I don't think they're actually doggy. So when it comes to being doggy, that's going to be just like if I think you need a rework. So Holy Pally, I think they're good. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're perfect or anything like that, but they're pretty good in the aspect of just getting out some heals, kind of living your melee. You wear a plate, have a shield, you have your defense aura, so like you do pretty decently at living. But one thing that's really cool right now is with Holy Paladin, but if you take Herald of the Sun, it's actually really good because you have constant procs of Holy Shock, and which just increases your infusion of light, which increases how much you can heal and all that kind of stuff. Your playstyle is a really nice loop in my opinion. It makes it a lot more interesting. One thing I haven't been able to try on it is, I actually wrote this down because I wanted to try it. Ellesmere, he is the best Holy Paladin in the game, pretty much, in Mythic Plus especially. They have Solar Infusion's Beacon of Virtue build going on right now. And I wanted to go and check that out. I think it would be pretty cool to do that. Next up is going to be Prez Evoker. So Prez Evoker, I think that they're mid. They're mid. They're a good ramping healer. They're not the best ramping healer. They're a lot more complicated than just like a regular spec like Holy Paladin or Holy Priest. But they're still really good. They have their niche. And if you wanted to take an evoker to your group, if you wanted all the special utility that evokers bring specifically, like cauterize to get rid of bleed effects. If you wanted to I can't remember the name of the ability, but it's like go grab your ally and move them somewhere else. You give them a shield, stuff like that. Like, it's really good with team utility, but I think it's a lot more effort than what you actually get from it. And next up is Resto Druid meta, 100%. So there is a stipulation on this though. So that stipulation is actually, as long as they don't fix their talent that's broken. So they actually have a bug with their talents that gives you a lot more rampant regrowths. I can't remember exactly what the talent name is, but it's in the... So you're going to be taking Wildstalker. You can take Wildstalker in Raid. You can take Wildstalker in Mythic Plus. You want to take it in Mythic Plus, by the way. You really want to take it in Mythic Plus. But that hero talent, the Wildstalker talent, that's in there. They have a broken talent. Can't remember exactly what it's called, but it just gives you... It gives you like 2-3 times the amount of healing you should be getting from it. So as long as they don't fix that, it's going to be meta. If they do, it's still going to be good. But it's meta right now because it's slightly overtuned because of the broken talent. Next up is Discipline Priest. I think they are the best good healer. The best good healer. So if Resto drops, I think Discipline pulls through and they become the next meta healer. But sometimes they don't actually fix stuff like that in the talents, and hopefully this time they do not when it comes to Resto. But Discipline right here. So Discipline is a really good spec. It's the other Priest spec from Holy. It's Discipline. The only issue right now that I see with it, because you could play either hero towns, they're both good in their own situations, stuff like that. It's one, the level of entry, the skill floor is very high. So like you need to know what you're doing to get any healing out, because you're not just healing them like you're casting flash heal or anything like that. Like you heal them through doing damage, so you have to make sure so they're the other ramp healer other than Prez. They're the next ramp healer. Well, Resto Druid is too, but that actually needs a lot of thought. And all ramp healers need to know the fights. If you do not know the fights, you won't be able to heal when that big burst comes out because you aren't ready for it. So that's one big thing about them. And also, when it comes to healing outside of like your major cooldowns, it actually is pretty lackluster in my opinion. I actually don't particularly like it. I think it's kind of bad, but it's okay. It'll be okay. Next up is Mistweaver. Mistweaver's going mid. That's my favorite healer, and I think it's the most fun because you're just DPSing. You just sit there, you DPS. If it's a huge pull, spinning crane kick, obviously you do a couple other things and all, but like it's really a simple spec. It's probably the easy. No, it's not the easiest, but it's up there. You always have cocoon as well to bail yourself out on helping someone, or if someone goes and steps in something, you aren't quite getting enough out on someone. That's a really good like direct instant, and it's only like a 2-minute cooldown. Life cocoon's really good. I love this spec. I play it every single season. I don't main it usually, but whenever I don't raid, all I do is play Mistweaver and BDK. I love playing the tanks and healers because I don't like waiting for queue times. I'm kind of a rat that way. What can I say? So, next up is going to be the last healer. It's the Resto Shaman. I think they're just above Holy, just under Discipline. So you can actually play either of the hero talents now on Resto. They both work. They're both really fun. But if you're gonna go with like the meta talent build, you aren't really playing around your totems like you have been, which is kind of interesting. So your healing from like your chain heals, healing surge, and riptide are gonna be a lot stronger, more effective, and you don't really have to play too much around your totems other than your cloudburst totem. So your cloudburst totem, you just kind of drop it, you heal, and then whenever you need that to pop, you just press it again, and it'll go off. It's actually pretty simple, and it actually does a lot of healing, but when you use it, you have to think about it. So you can't just drop it. But this is the most generic healer of Resto Shaman, because it's really, you just need like 3 buttons: your chain heal, your healing surge, your riptide. You'll make it pretty far with just that, and not really worrying too much about other things, given you want like your healing rain down and stuff like that. But like it's the simplest healer for sure. All right, and then the last thing that I am going to be talking about is going to be the DPS. What I think the DPS ranks are going to be from meta all the way to doggy. So let's start off with the Warriors. Warriors, doggy. Doggy, they need help. They need help real bad. Arms, I don't see any damage from them. In fact, I don't even see him anymore. I used to have a lot of arms friends. They all switched back to Fury. They like, and I'm saying like they prefer arms, but they're just like, why would I play arms? It's just too bad. They can't do anything with it. So it's like, it is what it is. I find them enjoyable, but I haven't tried them yet this season. It's just what I have talked about with my friends, my guildies, what I've been seeing in my Mythic Zero, stuff like that, is that arms is not too great. And if you were gonna want to do a physical comp with a warrior, it's gonna be one of the other 2 specs, and you would want that for their attack power buff that they give. Next up is going to be Fury. Honestly, they're like bottom mid, top of meh. I'm just gonna put them in mid for now, and we can shuffle it around later whenever I'm done. But they just kind of have this issue where they're either super strong in raid and in Mythic Plus, or they're just super meh or mid, because like their problem is that they've always been target capped at 5. They need to just scrap that, get rid of it, increase it something. But being target capped at 5 will always hold them back in Mythic Plus unless they're just that overtuned. Next up, Assassination Rogue. I'm thinking they're gonna be like top of good, like the tippy top. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna put them in good. I don't think that they're gonna be terrible, obviously, if they're in good, but I don't think they have quite enough to break out into the meta. They have really good damage. They are consistent, which is pretty surprising because in Mythic Plus, typically they're the worst. Like they're doggy, they need to get reworked. But it's actually kind of flipped on its head this time around, and I think Assassination is actually really good right now. When it comes to subtlety, though, I feel like they kind of lack in the damage department, and I'm just gonna put them in meh. I don't think they're okay, and an outlaw is gonna be mid. Like it literally goes like this, those three in that order. Um, like assassination is better than outlaw, but outlaw is better than sub because the damaging profiles on them aren't that great. The RNG from outlaw, stuff like that. Assassination is just the most consistent damage you're gonna get out of the rogue class. In Mythic Plus, I would much rather just have an assassination rogue. So next up is going to be the hunter specs. You know, everyone loves the hunter specs. Here's how I'm thinking. I'm thinking we're just gonna slam all three of them, then talk about them as a whole. Let's put marksman, BM. Oh wait, survival, BM over marksman. So let's start with survival. They're just not as good as the other two specs. Not even close. They're not really that good in the physical comp either. Like they just don't do enough. Their survivability sucks. Survivability is a huge thing in Mythic Plus, and no hunter spec has survivability. You have to be up here purely off your damage. And these two are pumping some good damage right now. Even though BM has taken like 12 nerfs, I think that they're still the best hunter spec. Not even close. And the reasoning why is because one, like I said, the utility sucks. Their traps aren't that good. It's kind of crazy to think that their hunter mark is really a hunter class buff, especially in Mythic Plus. That's absolutely a joke, by the way. That actually makes me upset that they would even think that. Like, it's literally useless in Mythic Plus, in my opinion. But here's why I think Marksman's worse than BM. So, Marksman absolutely pumps some numbers, destroys the meters. But the issue is they don't have really great prio damage. So, like, if you're trying to focus down something specific in a pack after you do a big pull, stuff like that, Marksman just pads meters. They do pretty even damage across the board. BM, they do great AoE damage, but they're just shooting at one target, and it's just their beasts are cleaving around. So they actually have really good prio targeting. But like I said, all three specs, useless utility and terrible survivability. So they're gonna be more towards the bottom of A, maybe, or bottom of good, maybe high mid, is what I'm thinking. Havoc, they're gonna be like the top of mid. You're not really going to want to take a Havoc Demon Hunter because you already have a Vengeance Demon Hunter. So why would you want to do that? Like in your meta, you have a Vengeance Demon Hunter. You already have the utility of the Demon Hunter class. You already have the Demon Hunter buff for the magic damage, stuff like that. So there's literally no point in them. They just do pretty good damage, but if you're looking to do like high keys, meta keys, you're not going to bring them because you're already bringing vengeance for most likely. All right, so next up is going to be Feral Druid. Feral Druid, I think that they're mid as well, just under Outlaw. I think that they are the better of the two DPS Druid specs, but they're not too great. Their survivability's meh. It's okay. It's not great. no druid survivability other than bear is actually good. It's all kind of bad. And on top of their utility being meh, the only thing they bring is verse, which you're already getting from Resto. Boomy got absolutely dumpstered from what I saw. Like destroyed, doing no damage. They need a complete rework. Not even a rework. They don't need a rework. Doggy, they need a rework. I think arms might not need a. I'm gonna leave arms down here, but I don't know if they need a rework. But Boomy, they destroyed the damage because they were absolutely tearing it up when it came to the PTR. They were going insane. At one point, their tier actually scaled off their health, so they would do a bunch of damage and then just switch over to bear form, and then their DPS would just skyrocket. They fixed that, made it to it scaling off your like your magic damage, and like then they just nerfed them to the ground. I think they're one like buff away, and you could see something more like Boomy up here, Discipline up here, instead of Resto. So, but they're just so bad right now. I would feel weird putting them any higher than meh. And I'm saying they're gonna be like the bottom of meh here. So this next one, I am actually very. I don't know. I don't know. So let's just put them both right here. I think that they're both going to be insane. I'm actually going to put it up there and right there. One of these are going to run away with it. Just absolutely. They both do really good damage. I'm pretty sure Frost is still kind of target capped if you run that obliterate. Well, it is target capped if you run that obliterate build, but I'm pretty sure they're doing the breath one. I'm very upset because I wanted the empowered breath ability, even though they don't have that right now. They took it away, reverted that change, and did something else with it. Neither here nor there on it. They both have grips, though. They both have AMZ. They have AMS, Anti Magic Shield, Anti Magic Zone. Both really good and Mythic Plus, even though AMZ did kind of take a little bit of a nerf in Mythic Plus, but it's still, of course, going to be really good. Like, it's a defensive for your entire group. You can't really complain that much, right? And then Unholy had some reworks. I think there's a couple bugs with some of the talents right now. Like summoning too many of the Headless Horsemen, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, as long as that's not fixed, Unholy might go up here. It might be Frost. One of those two might sneak up there, but actually I have something else in mind for up here right now. So Dev Evokers. Devastation. See, they just do really good damage. If you're going to bring an Evoker, it's probably going to be a Dev Evoker, honestly. It's just consistent damage. They bring most of the utility of an Aug Evoker. Aug Evoker is doggy. They need a rework, an actual rework. It's the first support class. What are you going to expect? They just have a ton of utility. They have no damage. They don't really buff them anymore. They're kind of just like they're just the bad. They absolutely ran Mythic Plus, and now they're the worst in Mythic Plus. I'd rather take an Arms Warrior, a BDK. I would not take an AUG in my group. When it comes to Ret's mid, I would say. They have decent survivability. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that their AoE actually isn't as good as it used to be. Their AoE's just kind of mid. They don't really have great single target priority, but they do have things like Bop. They do, so they can help out with any sort of bleeds on people. Of course, not the tank. They can shield themselves. They can heal people off healing, stuff like that. So it is always nice having a paladin friend, which everyone has because everyone has a paladin. But honestly, they're just kind of whatever, which is kind of a nice little turn because they've been all right. They've been all right lately. So Shadow Priest, where am I gonna put Shadow? I think Shadow might be meta. Don't hate me. Because I know everyone was upset when Shadow Priest was meta with Mage last time. But I think that's exactly what's going to happen again, if I'm being honest. I think it's going to be a magic damage comp, and they have Mass Dispel. They have fort buff, so you're getting fort, you're getting verse for your tank, which is going to make them survive even longer. And they have really good damage right now, like phenomenal damage. And they have Mind Soothe as well, which can be pretty good when skipping packs. So I think that they're going to end up getting up here in meta. Next, Windwalker. Windwalker is okay, but honestly, I don't think it is. Here, let me rearrange this a little bit. Yeah, let's do something like that. I'm trying to put it kind of in order of how I feel about them. Yeah, I think that works. So Windwalker here, they do decent damage. They have all the utility of every single other monk, but you're not going to take them over the other two monks. Point blank period. They're just better. I think Prez is better. I think that Brew is 100% better. I meant Mistweaver. I don't know if I said Prez, but I meant Mistweaver. And then the Brewmaster is just automatically better. It's one of the best tanks. I think it could easily slip into the meta slot if it changes to physical comp. But what it's looking like right now is for Mythic Plus, it is going to be a magic comp over that, though. So let me just do all three of these Warlocks all at once. Destro, Demo. I'm sorry, I think Affliction's right here next to Destro. I think that seems about. Yeah, I think that seems about right. So, Demo, I have an issue putting it any higher right now because it's already doing pretty dang good. What did I do? Okay, so I think Demo is going to be really good for raid numbers, and their damage right now is kind of mid right in Mythic Plus, but I feel like they're gonna get a nerf because they're really good in raid right now. So who knows? We'll see. So I feel like I can't put them any higher than where they are now. And then when it comes to Affliction, Destro, honestly, I feel like they're interchangeable. Maybe Destro when it comes to like higher keys if you're pulling bigger, and an Affliction for like lower keys. I think they might have a little bit better single target, more better prio damage. Oh, I did it again. How did I do that? Wait. Here. All right. So next up, let's do mages. So mages, I'm thinking Frost is here, Fire is here, Arcane is here. So Arcane, it's gotten a lot simpler than it used to be. It's a lot of fun. It does a lot of single target and it does AoE damage, and it brings Arcane Intellect to help round out the meta comp of the casters, which, spoiler alert, the last caster, Ellie, I'll just put it there. Yeah. So let's just talk about everything here. So this meta comp is going to be amazing because you have the mastery buff, which will definitely help everyone. You get the arcane intellect, you get fort, and you get verse, and in all of the DPS do more magic damage. to whatever they're attacking because of their tank. So that's going to be really good for them. That's going to be the meta comp. I am calling it now. And then I put Frost. Oh, and something I forgot to bring up: Arcane, all mage specs, insane survivability. They have Ice Block, or they could take like the alternate ice block where you don't become the block itself. They have alter time. They have a shield to put on themselves. They just have the most defensives in the game of any class, and elemental does a insane amount of AoE damage, especially if you can play around their ascendants. That is going to be pretty key for this kind of group. If you can kind of play around that ascendance, which I'm pretty sure kind of lines up with the other cooldowns, it'll be really good for them. They can do really big pulls and then do like a smaller pull and then another really big pull and just kind of go like that. And then they'll just absolutely dominate keys. I think they're going to be the top contenders from what I've been seeing so far, and like the synergies between the classes and everything too. Frost is here because it's just very simple. It has all the defensives, all the utility that Arcane does, but it's not quite as good. Um, and it does have cold snap, so you can actually get like a second ice block and stuff like that, and reuse your cooldowns, everything. So that's actually really cool, and that's another reason I have it above fire. But fire also looks like it's going to be using more of a flame strike build, and I personally don't like the flame strike build. I don't think the flame strike build's ever that good unless it's just too overtuned. Ignite is usually like the way to go. Whenever they play around ignite is when fire is typically the best. So I think this is how it's actually going to work itself out. And like I said, you could just do this. Oh, do that, and I think one of these DKs will slip in instead of that Shadow Priest. But that's only if Resto Druid gets that nerf, or they fix the town. It wouldn't really be a nerf. But that's honestly everything I have for today on these. I hope that you all have a good time.